God. Sleeper. Yeah, change that first, actually. I love vivid picks. They're fantastic. And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Monday, February 5th. I'm Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Eric Lindquist. We're brought to you by Vivid Picks. We've got a 6-game slate ahead of us.
February 5th. I'm Josh Engleman.
You want to turn around, Eric, and look at your television?
Yeah, I know. I'm aware. Why does Jordan put me on right now? I was trying to get the thing to go. There he is.
Turn your porn off, man. Turn your porn off.
Jeez.
6-game slate ahead of us. Lots to break down. Starting off the work week in the most fun way possible. Talking NBA. What's going on, man? How are you?
Doing all right. We've got the 1,000-year flood going on in LA. So I don't know how Jordan Klein and I are alive right now, but if I just have my shack out from the back of my house, if it just gets, lifted and thrown away during this show, I wouldn't be completely surprised.
To be fair, California is pretty awful. I think you guys probably deserve a little bit of something like that.
Gee, thanks. Gotham's Reckoning, a little bit of that.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't care who it was.
Yeah. You guys have gotten a little cocky over the past 20 years as a state.
I don't know.
I think this is your comeuppance.
I would be in Scottsdale every day for the rest of my life if my wife would let me. If my wife would let me. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I'm ready to do retirement things already. And getting to Arizona is certainly a retirement move. There's a retirement community a mile from my house. It's smack dab in between two great golf courses. And they've got a lot of openings to the public. They've just built a restaurant that's fully open. You can, as a public member, you can join their gym, full pool, all of those sort of amenities, pickleball courts, things like that. Mm-hmm. We went to just check out that restaurant, and Katie was like, should we just live here now and get it over with? I was like, I'm way more into that than you would think.
I would love to play Pinochle in the mornings, get my gamble on early, get the afternoon to just kind of I don't know. I feel like also, maybe this is just me and my experience. My parents have a place in Scottsdale that I go out and visit quite a bit. And they're in this community area. It's not a retirement community. It's just a gated community that they have set up there. But there's generally 65, 70-year-olds, and they take edibles and go to the dog park. And it's what an incredible experience to have desert air, pink sunsets, and an edible at a dog park with little fluffy, fantastically happy little things running around, having a blast. And then you tear a couple of ACLs playing pickleball during the week. But, such is life.
Such is life indeed. By the way, I forgot to mention it before. Don't forget to hit that like button. There's 650 people in here. Only 75 likes, which means 500 of you are not going to get NBA Live Before Lock after this. That screen will go quite dark, and you will not have any idea what's going on all the way up until 7. So hit that like button if you are interested in the show that comes up after this. You ready to break this bad boy down? It is a mildly interesting one today.
I'm in love with this slate. I'm
kind of like it too.
More than I normally do. I'm playing a lot more than I normally do because there's a couple of spots when we get to Brooklyn, when we get to the late night hammer. There's just a couple of spots that I'm really fond of, and it just seems like everybody is the opposite of where my ownership is on guys, and that's always a good feeling when you upload and you have the projections here at Stochastic and you start running lineups and you're like, oh, I'm double the field on this guy, I'm half the field on this guy, and this is almost exactly cookie cutter how I would do it if I were thinking about it in my mind from 2, 3, 4 years ago. But those slates, they kind of put me at ease. I feel really, really good about this. And hey, it's only 1 hour. It's a sprint slate.
Let's have some fun. The Los Angeles Lakers are 12.5-point favorites in Charlotte, 226 total. It's kind of gross, if we're being honest. I'm so happy that I'm blacked out to this game because I would have to be blacked out to watch it. It sucks. I hate the blackout rules in general, but it's a lot better when you're blacked out to the Hornets. That's just incredibly helpful. On the Lakers side, Q-tag on AD, Q-tag on LeBron, no Cam Reddish, no Jared Vanderbilt, no Gabe Vincent. On the Charlotte side, No LaMelo, no Gordon Hayward. Cody Martin questionable. Frank Ntilikina questionable. Mark Williams obviously still out. The only guy getting any ownership on the Lakers right now, 24% of it, in fact, coming into Anthony Davis, 9,900 power forward center. Around 5% either optimal or ownership to everybody else. So let's just start at the top. What do you want to do with Anthony Davis?
Yeah, I get the Anthony Davis ownership, and yet, there's a part of you that sees 24% coming in for him and 4% for LeBron. It's like, well, obviously we should be trying to get to some LeBron here in this kind of a circumstance as well. I mean, Anthony Davis is primed to succeed. You have a Charlotte team that tries to go to PJ Washington at times. This is going to be more of a Nick Richards spot, I would think, for this one. And that doesn't bode well because he is not exactly going to be great defensively on an AD. AD should be able to just do whatever he wants to do here. The rebound rate should be great. I will say being 12-point favorites on the road, and then you add in that Charlotte, we think of them as these up-tempo team from days of yore. That's not the case this year. 98.3 possessions per 48 minutes, 22nd in the association. They're on a back-to-back, so it is what it is. Like, I don't really think you need to be jamming AD by any means. Like, I generally would see this kind of price tag, a sub 10K price tag on Anthony Davis, see, that we don't have like a lot of the normal studs outside of Luka that exist here on this slate. Joel Embiid being out, obviously. So I think I'm probably going to end up around the field or maybe a little bit below, but LeBron James at 4 or 5%. That's something that I'm double of and happy to do so.
I have 4% of Anthony Davis right now. Pretty giant fade for me.
Yeah.
Not that I don't think he looks good, because I do. He grades out really well for me. I don't really have any problems or anything with his price tag or his positionality. I just think the ownership is a little too high. And you see that with the negative leverage we have in the boom bust tool. That seems to be affecting me in a pretty big way, and that's what's stopping me from getting there. But 16% optimal is still a real nice number in comparison to the rest of what we're seeing for the Lakers. But after that, pretty ugly here.
Yeah, it's just an ugly spot with everybody in here, and the tags have come up because they decided to play Boston with nobody there and win. D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, I have none of. Rui Hachimura, I have a share of in 40
Same.
lineups. That's it. That's what I got.
I wish I had more to add. It really is just an AD and everybody else thing. And obviously getting to LeBron is the one that makes you feel the best if you're doing anything.
Correct. Yeah, 10% of him, which again, that's 4 of 40 lineups, so nothing crazy.
Now, the opposite side of this game, a little bit different. 15% ownership to Brandon Miller, 15% ownership to Miles Bridges, 15% ownership to Nick Richards. Call it 5 to PJ Washington, 5 to Cody Martin. I have quite a bit of the Charlotte Hornets team. I'm just going to throw it to you to start. Do you have someone that stands out here?
Miles Bridges by a lot. Okay. So part of what's happening for me with the AD stuff, where I say I'm a little bit under, that is because Miles Bridges is $8,200 here in a spot where we're projecting him to play 37.5 minutes. If it stays competitive, even if it doesn't stay competitive, I brought this up yesterday. Brandon Miller was still in the game, down 15, down 20 there at the beginning of that fourth quarter. I mean, they are playing 37, 38 minutes in pretty much all circumstances. So like him and Brandon Miller are great, but like for me, the Miles Bridges thing is just basically, I don't believe that Brandon Miller, this insane run of usage, 36.2% usage yesterday, around 30%, pretty much since you had Terry Rozier disappear and LaMelo Ball go out. It's been crazy, and I think Miles Bridges is going to be taking over more of that here. I would think he's still at a 30% usage yesterday. He just shot the ball pretty terrible. 1 for 5 from 3, 1 for 3 from 3. The game before that, 8 for 23 and 3 for 16. If you see him knock down shots, which against this Lakers team is definitely something that is viable to happen, the Lakers being 6th in pace, it's a pace up spot here for Charlotte at home. Miles Bridges is the guy I have a ton of. I brought it up earlier, though, too. Nick Richards isn't somebody that I have 0 of. I've got 12% of him at the moment, which is a little bit surprising to me because I'm not in love with that spot. They can obviously go to PJ Washington, but with PJ Washington up to 6K and Richards down to 5,700, I'm just getting there in some kind of a way. But Miles Bridges is currently a pretty big stand for me.
I have no disagreements with your Miles Bridges stand. I do have some, but I am getting to Brandon Miller. And I don't think that I'm overly aggressive here. 27% usage. I'm trying to temper expectations at least a little bit, around a 15% assist rate. We got him 15% owned. I've got him in 36% of my stuff. I'm basically neutral to Bridges, neutral to Richards, and neutral to Cody Martin. I have 14% of PJ Washington right now, who does have a little tiny bit of positive leverage in our boom bust tool. 8% optimal, 5% owned, only 14%, but I'm kind of okay with getting to a bunch of Charlotte here, which is weird to me, but like the Lakers just always seem like a team you don't want to go up against, but in all actuality, they're just like an average NBA team.
See, yesterday was so tilting because like sorry, I wanted to say Miles Bridges again, but Brandon Miller was projected for like 10, 12% ownership. He ends up 20% on that slate. Everybody's been playing him ad nauseum, but now he loses the shooting guard eligibility. He's small forward only. And that changes it a little bit for me. He also, from yesterday, I don't expect him to just be a dude who goes out and chucks 25 times every single game. Maybe that is what we see. 12 3-point attempts. He's now had double digits in 2 of the last 3, 8+ in 3 straight. Like, this is a different style of Charlotte team with Brandon Miller just kind of coming into his own, being a rookie who has a long leash and is going to play a boatload of minutes. So, like, I don't completely hate it, but I got to think Miles Bridges is going to knock down shots here one day, it would appear. And he's just the guy that I think, if everybody's going to be getting to Brandon Miller, I guarantee you, we have him at 15%. People are going to still get to Brandon Miller. It's not as easy without the shooting guard eligibility, but I'm definitely a fan of the multi-positional eligibility for Miles Bridges. And the PJ Washington thing, I had a lot yesterday, made a pretty big stand on him. That worked out nicely. Obviously, I had no Miller, and that was an apocalyptic thing, but I don't hate the PJ Washington call. I just it feels like, considering the tag movement here, I've got to get to a little bit of Richards, and I know that he's pulling more ownership, but I don't mind what you're doing with Washington at all.
Yeah, I'm happy to have a little bit of Richards. I like that $5,700 price tag. It doesn't take much for him. I just like it, like those 4 guys for Charlotte are solid to me. And if we do happen to get Cody Martin in the starting lineup, I'll be interested there at least a little bit. If we don't get Cody Martin today and we get more of Ish Smith, it's not going to feel fun to click him. But
I don't think Ish Smith starts. So this is kind of the same thing where I talked about TJ McConnell on Friday. I'm pretty positive Nick
Cody
Smith
Martin
Jr.
out.
Oh, there you go. I think Frank Ntilikina out too. That's interesting. So Ish Smith started yesterday and obviously played 26 minutes, didn't do a whole hell of a lot for you, didn't inspire any kind of confidence coming into this one. I think Charlotte's in the mode where they're probably going to switch it up. They went McGowan's, Ish, Miller, Richards, Bridges. There's a way against the Lakers, considering, they do have a quote unquote true point guard with Russell, but like can play off the ball too. There's a way that they don't start Ish Smith here, and they could have ball handling for Miller, Bridges. Like this is one of those like weird Eric takes where it's like, I could see them going to Nick Smith here. He played 25 minutes yesterday, had the more serviceable minutes between him and Ish. Didn't do a lot in terms of fantasy production, but I think there's a way that like Ish Smith is a known quantity. He's been with 48,000 teams. We know who he is. I think Nick Smith is a guy they kind of want to go out and dust off a little bit and try to like see what they have there. He's probably going to be playing more minutes after the deadline for him. He's now gone from 12 minutes to 21 and 25. Didn't even shoot the ball well yesterday and got a long leash. Something tells me Nick Smith Jr. might be your ball handler here in this spot.
I'm trying to quickly update to see if I can get to like anything interesting.
I'm doing some stuff too. So if Ish Smith starts, he's 3,600. Just be aware that, he's a 0.64 fantasy point per minute guy this season. It hasn't been nice. It has not been good in any way, shape, or form. There's other value that's going to exist later. But if you get Nick Smith Jr., again, maybe this is wishful thinking, but 0.71, closer to a 0.8 guy here without LaMelo Ball, shooting guard, small forward, 3,800. I just kind of want to have that on your radar.
I'm looking at it now. I just tossed some minutes on a bunch of these guys. Smith is now in play. Nick Smith, that is. Yeah. For a second, I didn't really realize there were dueling Smith.
Well, you're looking at one, and it's like, oh, this guy is well, he's the interesting one with the positionality, and he's not the guy who went out and like didn't want to shoot a basketball yesterday.
He's certainly in play. I went 26 minutes to Ish, which might be aggressive.
I think it's a rip out, right? If he starts, yeah.
Yeah, with the assumption that he starts. I figure I'm probably going to get somewhere in that like 15% range And like that's probably around where I think he should be owned at that point.
Yeah. I mean,
I have
Nick
him at
Smith,
0.76 fantasy points per minute. That might be a little lofty for his 0.58 over the past 30 days, but I also don't expect him to be a 0.58 guy. I mean, I have him projected for 5 points. Like, it's not as if I think he's just going to be scoring like crazy. He's just going to be looking to pass the ball and get assists.
yeah, he hasn't played over 29 minutes in a game all season long, including the ones that he started. So, I mean, there's definitely a ceiling to what the minutes are, but yeah, Nick Smith's never started a game in his entire career, and yet just watching the game yesterday, hearing the commentators, hearing some different stuff that they were talking about with that Indy game, because I was obviously invested in some different spots in that game. I think Nick Smith is more live to start than what people might realize. Again, it doesn't matter. It's the first game of the day, so it's not like I'm making some kind of a stand. I don't give a shit. I just know Ish Smith is a known quantity. He's somebody who's been there before once upon a time. So like, I don't think they have any reason they would need to have him out there for more than 24 minutes if they didn't want to. If he goes out and plays well and he starts Ish Smith, that is, then, obviously 3,600, that's definitely going to help you the rest of the night. But you don't get any kind of a late swap advantage on this slate, considering it's only 1 hour.
We also just officially got Ivica Zubac out, which I assumed was going to happen all day. I don't know why he even got the Q tag to start. It seemed really weird to me, but I also don't think it's going to matter too much.
Yep.
Well, Charlotte got a little bit different since we started it off. I want to hit Corey Shea's super chat. He said, a lot of great chalk tonight. Who is worth fading? I guess for me at this moment, that answer seems like it would have been Anthony Davis, but I'm going to hit you guys with the spoiler alert. It's also Luka Doncic for me.
Jesus. Let's see. Right now there's a guy in. Oh, hang on. Where did it go? I wanted to update this here. I was doing the Charlotte thing. I have 0 Brandon Pashimsky, so there's that. That'll be fun. It's 5,700. He's too cheap, probably. And yet
I'm under if it helps.
Okay, that kind of helps, but yeah, I have 0 at the moment.
Dennis Smith Jr. I don't mind fading him at 20-something% ownership. That's what I'm currently doing.
0 of him too. Yep. The Nets. I am like completely opposite what the field is doing.
We will certainly get there in a bit, but first, guys, schedule for the rest of the day. I mentioned it earlier. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. The only way to see that show is to hit the like button on this video. 1,500 people in here, only 250 likes. You are lagging behind. The other thing that I want you to do after I slowly get this Coke Z burp out is going to be use our avatar. Go to stochastic.com/avatar, grab the logo, use it on DraftKings, FanDuel, Owner's Box, Yahoo. If you finish in the top 3 of a contest with 5,000 or more entries, you get 1 month of whichever package you want at Stochastic, except for the all access package. If you want the NBA pass, you'll get projections, ownership, the boom bust tool, the Sims tool itself. So contest generator, the Sims, you can get the lineup generator if that's what you're looking for. Premium Discord. And this exists across a couple of other sports too, if maybe that's what you're looking for. And all you have to do is tweet your win at Stochastic HOF. Show us the lineup. Show us your contest. We want to show you off. We want to give you a little bit of a reward for it too. It's always nice to see our avatar at the top of a contest. So again, link in the description or in chat. That is stochastic.com/avatar. Sacramento Kings are 3.5-point underdogs in Cleveland, 234 total. Not a lot of ownership coming in here to any one individual, but about 5 to 10% coming into everybody that plays for the Kings. Malik Monk, the only guy getting into double digits for either optimal rate or ownership. We saw him play big minutes over the past 2 games, as we all knew was going to happen eventually. Are you getting too much here from Sacramento? Any stands for you? Because I kind of see it the way the field does.
Yeah, I love that it was on Saturday. Coming off of a game before, and I didn't play, so that was enjoyable. Thanks, Malik Monk, 5,400 for him. There's a reason he's getting the most ownership. If you see those minutes, it's great. There's an obvious floor there, but at 11%, I don't think you need to be that concerned about it. He's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy. He goes out and chucks, and there's going to be like a hot hand approach, I think, with a lot of what we see. I want to get your opinion on Trey Lyles, what the hell's been going on with him, because 26-24, he knocked down threes the last 2 games. Is it something where mean, it just depends on the matchups, maybe, but like not really. I wouldn't think Chicago would be a game that he would play 24 minutes there in that spot. They didn't have like a big four out there without Patrick Williams, but like I don't know what to make of it right now. I have 16% of him and I don't like it. Kevin Herter, I don't have really at all. Harrison Barnes, I don't have. I have a couple shares of Domantas Sabonis. It's just a spend up. We don't have a ton of them here. 1.46 fantasy point per minute guy going up against Cleveland. Tough matchup with Mobley back. But what do you think about Trey Lyles considering he's 3,400? We don't have like a ton of value that's that cheap.
I'm not getting him, but like I feel like I should be given where some of the like I don't know why he looks. I mean, I guess he's not a great per minute dude, but at the same time, he is not all that different other than position from someone like Dennis Smith Jr.
That's exactly it. Like for me, it's so we have him at 19 minutes. I put him at 21, mainly because, you know, that's kind of splitting the difference of where he was at the last two games, 16 and 24. What's hard about this is like the last 6 minutes, it's basically who is shooting the ball well and they close. Like between Monk, Herter, Lyles, you're going to have just these weird situations where Lyles can actually end up closing a game if they want to, or can extend them a little bit further. So like the 24 minutes against Chicago again is so strange, but he was shooting the ball well, 5 for 7 from 3. And so they kept him out there. His floor spacing made a lot of sense to do so, but 3,400 is just so low. And the fact that people aren't getting there at all at 7.5% makes it pretty appealing on this slate.
I like the shout. I really do. I wish that I was getting a little bit more. I'd be interested to see what happens if I throw another minute at him because I think that would be at least a little interesting. Surely once I do that, though, that'll be the game where he plays 15 minutes.
Yep. No, we're both fucked.
Radam, RADM, hit us with the super chat. And I don't know what currency that is. What is R? R dollar? 10?
Is that rupees?
Maybe.
What is our currency? South African? The Rand. It's the Rand.
Sure it is. Anyway, trying to find out who gets more rebounds with Capella out and Zubats out. Seems like a 5 will thrive today in this matchup. I checked next man up, and Okongwu doesn't have that much of a bump. Thoughts? Yeah, it's Okongwu, and it's Mason Plumlee.
Yep, those are the two.
Or Daniel Tice, if that answer suffices for the Clippers side. But these guys are plug and play. Not much is changing for moving these guys in and out.
Yep.
Ooh, Brazilian. The Brazilian Real.
Let's go. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Portuguese women, here for it.
Thanks for the super chat, though, man. I don't know what that converts to, but I'm going to assume it's billions.
Leaky Black will start for the injured Cody Martin. See, I had Ish Smith, they were talking about it the entire time yesterday where they're just like, hey, you know what you have. And they kept talking about a known quantity for him. And that was like the verbiage. And I was like, there's no fucking way he's starting on this back-to-back. So I didn't see Leaky Black coming, to be honest, but that is a disaster.
He's going to get played.
Oh, yes, he is. That's what I'm saying is that like Nick Smith wouldn't have gotten like jammed, but 3,800, I like that. He's 3,300 small forward, power forward. They're going to go to Brandon Miller as a ball handler. That was always what they were talking about. And we'll get to see it in action today. Can't wait. Can't wait.
I just gave Leaky Black 23 minutes. I have him at 0.8 fantasy points per minute without any single adjustment. And he kind of looks exactly the way that I had Ish Smith projected. But he's 3,300, small forward, power forward. There's a guy that I would see somewhere in that 20-25 range, just off the top of my head without making any adjustments. If that rate is actually more real than false, maybe a little bit higher because that flexibility is massive. But he's been at 0.68 over the past 30 days. So if it's 0.68 or somewhere closer to that, that will impact where I'm at. But he does look pretty good if you're starting him because of that position.
I like Nick Smith Jr. a lot more now. Like relative to ownership, like I won't have to do a lot to get to him, but like Leaky Black, there's going to be a minutes floor there. I think there's a really good chance you don't even see Ish Smith play here on the back-to-back.
Nah, he's playing.
You think he's playing?
He's going to play like 18. He's going to play the same amount of minutes he was going to play before.
You think Ish is going to play 26 still?
No, I think he's going to play 18.
Okay. So that's different than what everybody was projecting at least, but I'm saying Like,
Well, no, he was 18 across the board before the Cody Martin news.
oh, okay, good. Well, before the before the Cody Martin news. I'm saying
Yeah.
after the Cody Martin news, as we were updating everything. That's different. Small forward, power forward. He just had to be that, didn't he? So 3,300. That'll be fun. But yeah, Nick Smith Jr. 3,800. Just throwing it out there. I will have a little still.
That's going to be a weird one. I'm anxious to see that. Let's go to Cleveland.
Thanks.
Pretty easy to talk about, but I like Donovan Mitchell. 10% ownership to Jared Allen, 10% ownership to Donovan Mitchell, 5 to Karis LeVert. We have Mitchell and Allen from an optimal rate perspective right at their ownership numbers. I've got 28% Donovan Mitchell. I had a bit of a stand on Trae Young earlier today as like an alternative 9K guard. That has now changed from Trae Young to Mitchell. I have 25.
Okay. I'm fine with that. I just was trying to get caught up. I saw we had that Evan Mobley blurb come across. That's
Speaking
not
of, he's limited to 26 minutes, which I don't think matters. Jared Allen is also questionable, and Darius Garland got added to the list of questionable with left knee soreness.
Yeah, that's going to be the deal for me. This could end up being Karis LeVert, Max Strus, getting to some of those guys. Isaac Okoro is always like a guy. What, 3,600? Yeah, the worst when there's potential for like 30 plus minutes there. But yeah, Darius Garland, that's the guy that, if you remove him there, he was only going to play 26-ish minutes or so. I had him a little bit higher than it seemed like the industry standard was. There was a blowout game that they had played previous to it against San Antonio. Didn't necessarily need to push him. He played on a back-to-back and it was a jaw injury. So Darius Garland, now that they're saying knee for this, that's a little bit more alarming to me, where I doubt that he ends up playing basketball today, but we shall see. The Jared Allen news is obviously gigantic. I was getting to Mitchell here as well, 22% of him. And then you could just end up seeing Karis LeVert, point guard, shooting guard, Max Strus, shooting guard, small forward, lots of those guys, even Sam Merrill, 3,300, somebody that ended up playing more minutes than I was expecting, ended up closing in that San Antonio game. But again, it was more of a blowout script. Only played 14 minutes as it is in that spot. So 3,300. Doubt he'd be somebody I'd be running to the window to play, which generally means that he's going to knock down everything he looks at and end up playing 24 minutes and burning everyone.
I'm really curious to see what happens here if those Q tags break the wrong way.
George Niang, 3,400 as well. That's not somebody I have right now, but like he's somebody that would go from 18 to 22 minutes. You're not going to give all of those minutes to Karis LeVert, but like I would give quite a few of them to Karis LeVert. It's a spot where if you lose them, obviously you're getting a Sacramento matchup too. They're middle of the road in adjusted defensive rating, and then pace wise, they're 11th. It's not a 0, but it is a spot that could become much more appealing than it currently is in my lineups, because right now it's just Donovan Mitchell and nothing else.
Pretty much the exact same situation for me. So pay attention to the injury news, everybody. DC24 with the super chat on DraftKings. Cam Thomas and Malik Monk, or Bridges and Dinwiddie? Seems like the perfect opportunity for Jordan Klein to pull up the player compare tool, because there's nothing I hate more than a 2v2. And that is why we have a free player compare tool on the site. You don't have to pay for this bad boy. You get the answer to that question, and you don't even have to send in a super chat, although I am not mad that you did so. Thank you very much for that one.
Which Bridges?
That would be the regular Bridges.
They're both?
I don't know. It's not in there.
There's a McCall and a Miles version.
My guess is the McKell version.
Yeah, that makes more sense salary-wise, considering Monk pretty cheap. Yeah. I hate how much Spencer Dinwiddie I have in my life right now. He is the nuke of the night, so enjoy.
I assume Bridges and Dinwiddie is my answer. Yes, it is Mikal Bridges. Jordan, you got that up on the screen? Perfect. Winner of this one, Mikal Bridges and Spencer Dinwiddie, folks. All of that data showing up on the screen right now. You guys can all check that kind of stuff out yourself when you have those kinds of questions. If you didn't know it existed, now you do. And then Brad Kaufman, how many lineups do you guys enter in the $15 150 max? And Lindy, why no Luka?
I didn't say no Luka.
I did, and we will get to that right now, actually. I play between 50 and the full max, depending on the day, depending on what's going on, depending on what life looks like. But at least 50. Sometimes
Yeah,
69 when I'm feeling funny.
Oh, look at you. I generally play between 25 and 50 lineups, and I'll split it between like the main contest and then something else. Today I'm playing 40, and then I'm playing the like 3 max $200. Like that's a really good tournament that I like to mix in from time to time. So just depends on the day. Obviously, when I'm on deeper dive, I can feel a lot better about being able to do all of my stuff rather than having to entertain or try to help everybody. Again, I love to be helpful, but deeper dive, a lot easier show for me to do than live before lock.
Dallas Mavericks are 3.5-point favorites in Philadelphia, 244 total. Only guy getting any heavy ownership would be Luka Doncic at about 24%. We also have Kyrie back and in. He's 8% owned, 9% optimal. I'll let you start. What are you doing with Luka?
I'm playing him, so I'm doing not what you're doing here at the moment. He's still got the highest boom percentage of anybody on the slate at $12,000. And the Kyrie thing is, obviously noticeable. It's very, very noticeable because he's very good as opposed to everybody else. But like, I do think going up against Philly here in this spot, Luka on the road, everything's just pointing me towards getting to him. I think we have enough value to a certain extent. And obviously, I'm doing different stuff with the Nets than most. I do have the Lonnie Walker piece for what it's worth. And then you add in Spencer Dinwiddie at 5K, who apparently I'm jamming today, which doesn't inspire greatness or awe. I think I'm probably dead. But Luka Doncic at 12K isn't that difficult for me to attain here. Everybody's going more towards the Anthony Davis side. I guess they're identical ownership here at the moment, but earlier in the day, when I was writing my article, that was not necessarily the case. Domantas Sabonis, the only other spend up, but we don't have Giannis. We don't have Jokic. We don't have some of these other guys. And as we start to accumulate value, we could get some really interesting value with the Pelicans, potentially. Toronto, there could be something to mine out pending how they want to do it. But, obviously it was a strange rotation. It is on a back-to-back here. Bruce Brown Jr., I assume, ends up starting, but we'll get to that one obviously as well. But I think there's just enough that I'm playing on the cheap end that is accessing nearly half of my lineups have Luka Doncic in it today.
So I had a bunch of them earlier today. And then I sat down late afternoon, 3:30 to do my updates.
Yeah.
And, I went over my rates and all my thoughts and my minutes and everything, and I left everything how I had it for Luka. And then I went and checked the markets, and they were decidedly lower than they had been in the earlier morning. And I don't feel like my rates are off. I cross-checked with games where Luka and Kyrie have both started. I didn't feel like I was off in any way there. The only thing that I felt like I was off then for to make this come down is playing time. And I think that's where I am different now than the consensus across the industry. I only have him in for 36 minutes. And that is not where he is across the board. We have him in at 38. I could end up being very wrong here because he has been playing absolutely massive minutes when he's been able to be on the floor lately. But if I leave him at the minutes that I expected, which was 38 or 39 for today, I would be projecting him for 5 real points more than his current market is showing, which to me feels incorrect. 775 minutes played by Luka in games where he and Kyrie both started. That's 22 games. That's 35 minutes per game. Now, even if you want to say that that's trending up, I'm happy to give him that extra minute. I'm nervous about him coming back from a playing time perspective in this spot based on what I saw in the prop market. Maybe I'm overreacting to it, but it's stopping me from getting to Luka. Like, I still have him 1.79 fantasy points per minute for this game. I don't think that is the piece that I'm off on. I seem to be like, I'm dead on our number right now. My difference is simply that I have him at 2 less minutes.
Well, if you want to complicate things further, this is a team that I've gone back and forth what I was going to do with pretty much all day with the rest of it, mainly because I mean, there's really only 2 guys that you're prioritizing by any means. Josh Green is a piece at 4,900 that I was still getting to earlier in the day. But the thing I keep thinking about is that this is the front end of a back-to-back for Dallas. I am worried that Luka just plays like 42, 44 minutes, and they just basically say, all right, you're going to play this one. Kyrie, we've been saving you. We're going to play you like 33, 34 minutes here. You're going to play on the back-to-back because you play Brooklyn again tomorrow, and we have like that revenge narrative that, obviously Kevin Durant just went and eviscerated. Like, Going back into Brooklyn here, TNT spot tomorrow. I think Luka probably plays all out here and probably sits tomorrow because that's a game that I think is more attainable where, even if both of them sit, they can go out and win that thing. Like without Luka and Kyrie, it should be like close to a pick 'em. Brooklyn favored by a little bit. Both teams on a back-to-back here. I'm just worried that they unleash Luka and Kyrie in the competitive spot here. They are favored in Philadelphia and just say, let's go win this one and see if we can't hold down the fort on Brooklyn. Maybe give them both a day off here on the back-to-back. So I find it unlikely that they both play again tomorrow. So do with that what you will. But I don't know how to necessarily go about and do anything to change it. And considering the consensus for Luka is 38, like I like the idea. It's the same thing that we talked about with Luka when he put up 100. It's like, I like you taking a stand on something because we saw him get steamed up. If Luka gets to like 35%, 40% at the flip, with the current value we have, I'd be a little bit disappointed I had that much, but there's at least there's a case to be made where Luka just plays 42, 44 minutes still, and they just say, go win this one. We'll see how competitive it is here at halftime and adjust from there for tomorrow.
I think that is a very live process for today. And that is part of the thing that's concerning me the most. We also have to deal with the fact that we could get a weird starting lineup today. I don't think we're going to. I think we're going to get what we saw. I think we're going to get Kyrie.
I think Holmes starts today. If you want to, Maxi Kleber played really, really well, and Maxi Kleber is really, really good from a real life perspective. But do you throw Kleber out there against Paul Reed to start, or do you have him staggered?
So. I think we're going to get Kyrie, Luka, Josh Green, Derek Jones Jr., and Maxi.
Yeah, I think that's the chalk, but I'm saying that I think there's at least a chance that they do something. Well, it depends.
They have Dwight Powell, and I just don't think they give a shit about Richaun Holmes unless they don't have a choice.
That's probably true. That's true.
That said, we didn't know. Everybody thought he was going to start, and then he didn't play a single second. All bets are off at that point for what they're doing there. But with Dwight Powell being able to eat 18 minutes, if they think that they can play Maxi Kleber 28, they don't really, especially without Embiid here, they don't really need another real center.
Yeah. How happy is Dallas that Tim Hardaway
if he starts, you're going to be playing Richaun Holmes.
Oh yeah, totally. But I'm saying that I'm just thinking about these outlier situations. I don't know. There's spots where people end up overreacting to a new starting lineup. Robin Lopez is starting, and I had 0%, even though I didn't play that much on Saturday. I had a little bit. I said not playing before. I had that $44 leaderboard, whatever the hell it was on DK. That kept me in for a little bit. But Robin Lopez, there's stuff like that that'll just pop up from time to time. Paul Reed on the other side, I think, is at least live to make that happen. But what does Philly do if Tobias Harris is out here? Just Marcus Morris slide into the starting lineup, and then you could look at a Kleber and somebody else type lineup and put Derek Jones to the bench. There's different ways that this plays out. I'm probably inclined to think that what you said is the chalk: Josh Green, Jones, Kleber. But obviously Tim Hardaway Jr., we won't see him start anymore with Luka and Kyrie out there.
The big thing here is this game starts at 7:00, and none of what we're saying really matters. You'll get,
but
this
it's
lineup.
Fun. But it is. Also, when you get surprising starting lineups, if you've at least thought out the process of it, it doesn't surprise you as much. I spent a lot of my morning trying to figure out what Toronto's going to do because I assumed there weren't enough props to take advantage of it, but I assumed that considering they had a double overtime game, Toronto was going to sit RJ Barrett. They are sitting RJ Barrett, but it doesn't make it any cleaner or easier for me to look at that starting unit and think, oh, okay, Jakob Poeltl's just going to, be out there starting again. Is it as clean as going quickly? Trent Brown into the starting lineup goes from playing 18 minutes to 32 today. Or does Dennis Schroeder get a chance considering he's the one who played in the overtime periods? But I don't know. Stuff like that, you just want to think through and know what you do so you can change the rates and then be able to kind of, again, our projections team does that for you. So as long as you got everything here, you'll get that updated in real time.
Yes, you will. We got ownership 2 minutes ago. If you want that update.
Thank you.
We can hit the Philly side quickly. Only two guys matter at this moment. If Tobias Harris is in, it's Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris. Tyrese Maxey is one of my favorite plays today. I have 42% of him right now. He is the guy that I want to pay up for. I think he looks absolutely amazing. Oh, by the way, I do have more Trae Young than I thought I did, but we'll get to that in a little bit. And then I really want to get to Tobias Harris as well. I'm a little bit over that 24 mark if he's playing, because they just don't have anybody that's really actually good at scoring or creating. So those two guys in mass, if Harris is out, we're going to find some more value here for Philly. But I want to be very clear. Tyrese Maxey's the dude today.
All right. He is not currently my dude, but I totally get it. I mean, this is somebody without Joel Embiid that's going to step into their own. You're looking at his points prop across the industry in the 30s here from the jump without Joel Embiid. I mean, there's no doubt that there is a massive offensive upside, especially when you look at Luka and Kyrie on the other side. That's pretty useful. Dallas is never going to impress you from a defensive perspective. I mean, they're just constantly going to be one of the bottom rung teams there. What are they? 118.9 adjusted defensive rating, 25th in the association this year. So yeah, doesn't inspire awe. So I totally get it. For me, I am getting to Luka. So that changes the equation there. I also am getting just way too much Spencer Dinwiddie, and I don't know what to do about it. If I could stop getting Spencer Dinwiddie at like a 55-60% clip right now, my life would be a lot simpler. But apparently at 5K, I can't quit this dude. I hope he makes shots today. So Luka, Spencer, like there's just not a lot of point guards for me to roster outside of those two here at the moment. So I wish I could get some of that Dinwiddie and have it just disappear and go to Tyrese Maxey. Hopefully that happens come lock here, but at the moment, currently not the case.
Olrad hit us with the super chat, said, as of now, I need one guy below 4,100 on DraftKings utility. That is unequivocally Lonnie Walker.
Without a doubt.
He's at 4K on the dot. That is the answer to that one.
27, 30, 31 minutes the last three. Just, Jacques Vaughn is talking about how much, he's added from a tenacity standpoint, an offensive standpoint. Again, like these are the kind of intangible stuff. Like if you're watching basketball, it's not about knowing ball, but it's about, is a coach going to play them in crunch time? And now you're seeing Lonnie Walker close at times. That is just so impossible to get away from with the positionality today. It's just, you're just going to play Lonnie Walker.
I don't have anything else for Philly. We need that Tobias Harris news. That is going to be a live before lock item for you guys. So make sure you're watching that show by hitting the like button. Make sure you're also signing up for Vivid Picks. They are the sponsor of this show. You can see it. You can see their logo behind Eric's head right now. You can get a $300 deposit match on your first deposit. Normally it's $100 for most spots. Every once in a while you hear about 500. This one, 300. Great start. So click the link in the description or the one in the chat and sign up. You also get a $25 secure play when you sign up, which means if your first entry loses, you get refunded in $25 of Vivid site credit. So you can take a pretty big risk, try to really build up the bankroll. This is your common pick'em site. You should be shopping around. You should want to be at a couple different sites so that you can make sure you're getting the best lines everywhere. It's no different than the sports betting side. OddsShopper will certainly help you out there. Go to oddshopper.com or sign up using the links in the description for that as well. But ultimately, you should be hitting these pick'em sites, getting your deposit bonuses, figuring out where you want to be long-term and making your moves. But don't sleep on the free money because that's what you're getting, up to $300 worth, in fact, at Vivid Picks. Old Rat said, I screwed up. No Lonnie Walker. The answer now then is Leaky Black.
Yeah, it is. That's awful to say, isn't it? It's fun.
It is. All right. We got to the Clippers, 4-point favorites in Atlanta. We got the news that Ivica Zubac is going to be out for this one, which I think most people really assumed was going to be the case. But since they listed him differently, it was kind of a pain in the ass. Yet here we are. He's the only guy that matters here in terms of injury report. Got 10% ownership to Harden, Kawhi, and to Mason Plumlee, who is now, I assume, the starting center. I'm fine with a little bit of Harden. I'm fine with a little bit of Kawhi. I don't think anybody stands out for the Clippers.
Nobody stands out, but I want to give Norman Powell a shout out here.
Okay. He's
5K. You're coming off a back-to-back, played 28 minutes, didn't go out and chuck by any means, but like his job is to go out and score the basketball here at times. Without Ivica Zubac out there, he only played 18 minutes, but you look at some of the rotations in spots where they close small. That is a very very likely outcome with no Clint Capella on the other side of this one for Atlanta. You get a Kongwu who basically, is a 4 playing the 5 and, going to get a majority of the minutes. He's the highest owned player on the slate for good reason, but I think there's a really good chance that the Clippers go to one of these small ball type closing lineups where it ends up being, Leonard, Harden, Powell, George, and, they could even go to a man or a coffee or something of that capacity if they really, really wanted to. But with Norman Powell out there closing, we've got him at 25 and a half minutes. I've got him closer to 28 again. And that just changes it completely when he's a 0.82 fantasy point per minute guy pulling absolutely no ownership. So right now I have 16% of a 4% Norman Powell, and I'm fine with it. I'm getting to like a smattering of Kawhi, a smattering of James Harden, smattering of Mason Plumlee, but like Norman Powell's the guy I have a stand with on this team. And it's just because I disagree with the minutes.
I like that for GPPs. It's a good spot. It's a good stand. I don't have much else to add for these guys. Like the rest of it is kind of just really unappealing. Like a 10-ish% ownership to Harden, Kawhi, and Plumlee, and I agree with it.
Daniel Tice, he didn't even play yesterday, 3,800. I thought about it.
He will play today. He's obviously
he's definitely going to play, but I'm
yeah.
saying that like he didn't have to play yesterday. He's fresh and like 26 minutes still for Plumlee. He's still got the majority of the center minutes.
And Daniel Tice is only foul trouble away on Mason Plumlee from picking up a couple extras too.
And he's 3,800. Like that's the main thing for me is that now you've got the tag. He was 4,400 2 weeks ago as a backup center, and now we're getting 3,800 for him. I currently have 6%. Again, I haven't updated my own stuff for the Leaky Black situation. I'll do that after the show, but I think Daniel Tice is somebody in play for GPPs as well. But the Norman Powell one, I had kind of preloaded and already knew what I was going to do.
On the Atlanta side, we did get word that Sadiq Bey and DeAndre Hunter are both in, which makes me happy. We can put this one to bed pretty quickly. 54% owned Onyeka Okongwu, 36% optimal. He's in 90% of my lineups right now. To me, he's the easiest play on today's slate.
Yep, I have 100%. So I'm playing 40 lineups in the main thing. And yeah, he's going to be in every single one, barring something really crazy happening. If he ends up in like 85, 90%, I apologize ahead of time. But like he's the easiest plug and play on the slate, 5,100. He's going to start. He's going to play a majority of the center minutes. And Bruno Fernando had been out for a while. He had back spasms. So he wasn't even available here as long as like a week ago. So I don't think you want Bruno Fernando with back spasms to be out there for longer than 13, 14 minutes anyway. You could be looking at 34 for Okongwu really, really quickly. I don't know how to analyze that. We haven't seen Fernando play anyway since like the middle of January, so it doesn't really matter there. I'm not going to play him in tournaments or anything at 3K even, but saying that there could end up being a deal where Okongwu just plays more minutes than you think, and he's already a phenomenal play.
The other guy that I have my eye on big time here is Trae Young at 9,500. I think I'm a little high on him, but I'm also not trying to change that in any way. I have 24% of a 6% owned Trae Young. That is exactly where I would want to be heading into a GPP. Not overwhelmingly stacked up for Trae, but at the same time, a good enough stand that if it goes right, I've got some bullets. So do you like Trae? Do you have any Jalen Johnson, DeJounte Murray, Bogdan Bogdanovic love for today?
Yeah, I wish I had some DeJounte Murray now that he's sub 8K here, but I don't at the moment. Not going to force it. He has the shooting guard eligibility. We'll see if that even matters at the end of the day. But Jalen Johnson's always been one of my guys. I still am not really getting to him either. I have 4% of him. So Trae Young is the only one I'm with. I'm with you. I have 10%, but like I don't know if I'm going to get any more here. It's a difficult spot going up against the Clippers. Obviously, this is a spot though where, because the Clippers are on the back-to-back, it's only a 4-point spread. It's not something I should be that concerned about. I think you could probably dust off Bogdanovic 5,900, but that's like a very, very, very low probability play. He played 34 and 38 minutes the last two, and now without Capella, there's just more rain for them to go out. And if the Clippers go small, they could just close with a Bogdanovic there. That wouldn't be very surprising to me whatsoever. So, again, there's just like these very low probability type plays that stood out to me working through stuff today. And he's just another one of them, but in no way is he a priority. In fact, I don't think anything. Okongwu is a very obvious, clear, easy priority. Everything else on this team kind of like, hey, if you're chalky in other spots, Trae Young is a really nice leverage piece. I think Jalen Johnson can be a really nice leverage piece depending on what else you're doing with your lineup. But right now it is a Okongwu by a mile, Trae Young a little, nothing else.
I have some shares of Murray, some shares of Jalen Johnson, a couple shares of Bogdanovich.
You do.
I do have a lineup with Bruno Fernando, but nothing too crazy for everybody else other than Okongwu and Trae.
Yeah, the Bogdanovich one, I'm glad you actually had it because I looked at our projections like, am I seriously going to actually land on him? But he's a fantasy point per minute guy who's played massive minutes, and Clint Capella getting dinged up. And again, 38 minutes. The result was him going 2 for 10 from 3, but like that, he could have been very, very chalky. This is an Atlanta team that I think has won 4 in a row now, is starting to put it together from a rotation standpoint, what they want to do. And again, Bogdanovich, very live to close just about every single time out now.
We head to Golden State now. They are 1-point favorites in Brooklyn, 237 total. For the Warriors, we're getting a lot of ownership to Brandon Pajemski because we do not have Andrew Wiggins for today. Is that official yet? It is not. He is doubtful. Dario Saric is available, though. And then we have like 8% ownership to Draymond Green, Jonathan Kuminga, Klay Thompson, and Steph Curry. I am not getting to Brandon Pajemski at that 23% ownership rate. I have 8%. I am, unfortunately, though, flip-flopping him with 6K shooting guard small forward Klay Thompson.
Yeah, I felt you about to say that, and you knew it wasn't going to feel good when you said it, but I think that's the right way to do it. I have 0% Pajemski. I have 12% Klay Thompson, so not double on the Klay number that you are, but still somebody that I think with the shooting guard small forward and then 6K, and Pajemski's the better rebounder. He's going to do more when he's on a floor filling out a box score. But if I'm looking for upside at a tournament, I still think Klay is the guy who's just underrepresented here. 23-ish% usage. You have Draymond Green on a floor for more minutes, which, obviously Kuminga is starting to come into his own, but Draymond Green is going to overall be a nothing from a usage perspective, 15.9% on the season. I know he's been a willing three-point shooter here of late, but overall, I think Klay is probably the guy to be landing on a little bit. I do have some Kuminga as well at 7K, which I'm not the biggest Kuminga stan, but there's no doubting that like you're seeing him get to 38, 40-ish minutes in some of these spots because Golden State, they're still playing catch up. They're a team that's going to do whatever it takes to go out and win games. They'll go to guys like Moody and Canonis and even Looney at times, Trace Jackson Davis, like for a couple of minutes here and there, but they are overall going to be playing their main guys a lot of minutes. And Pajemski, it's kind of an ownership thing, but it's also just I can get to Klay for 300 more. And I think there's just the same amount of like what that ceiling looks like. He's not going to put up a triple-double anytime soon, but if I need 35, Klay Thompson still has that there, even if the usage has been down a little bit.
Yeah, I think those guys look really, really similar. I really like the idea of flip-flopping them. That's just exactly how I would want it to happen. And yeah, for anybody worried about Moody, I have Moody in for 16 minutes. We have him in for 15. Not that kind of guy, but he is viable. And if I've mentioned it before, but like if Steph Curry is more your bag than Trae Young or Donovan Mitchell today, like feel free to like make him that guy. Like I obviously have those two. If one of them was Curry instead of the other, I wouldn't care at all. That would be all the same thing to me.
Yep.
Let's get to Brooklyn. It'll be easier to just read off the ownership. 30 to Cam Thomas, 30 to Cam Johnson, 25 to DSJ, 40 to Lonnie Walker, 20 to Bridges, 25 to Claxton, 10 to O'Neal, 20 to Dinwiddie. So basically everybody that plays real minutes is getting at least 10. Basically everybody is getting at least 20. Optimal rates in the 15 to 20% range on everybody. I have some big stands, I have some big fades, but I'm throwing it all to you.
What am I doing? Spencer Dinwiddie. Let's talk through this because this is my biggest headache of the entire slate. He's a guy that you look at the box score and it's very clear what happens. Jacques Vaughn is going to close with whoever is shooting the ball well. He is going to take off Spencer Dinwiddie at times, but Spencer Dinwiddie gets the first crack at everything constantly here. And there have been a couple of games, 1 for 5 from the field, 0 for 5 from the field, and the usage has no doubt been down, as it will be when you have Cameron Thomas playing mid-30s minutes, as you get Lonnie Walker more minutes, somebody that is a 24.4% usage guy over the course of this season. And then, obviously, Mikal Bridges, like a centerpiece that you have for this basketball team. There's also the uncertainty of what Dennis Smith Jr.'s minutes look like here, but it seems like all of that is allowing people to jam Dennis Smith Jr., and jamming Cameron Thomas. And I don't think it's going to necessarily work that way. Spencer Dinwiddie still has the assist floor. He's still going to be the guy that is out there creating, distributing, doing things in that regard. But we've just seen such insanely low usage from him for a guy that's around 18% on the season, 8 and 9 and 16.4. He's only had one game with over a 16.5% usage in his last 7. So he has not shot the ball well. He's been like a bottom 15th percentile shooter this season in terms of true shooting and effective field goal percentage, but eventually you knock down shots in a game. And if people are going to play 3-4 nets in lineups today, and they're not going to be playing a guy in Spencer Dinwiddie who's 5K, who was mid 7Ks here a month ago, completely different circumstances, of course, but like I am just getting to him so damn much today, and I wish it would stop.
I got a lot of some of these dudes. I don't have a single share of Dennis Smith Jr. right now at 24% ownership. Don't mind. Don't really have Royce O'Neal either. I'm light on Nick Claxton. I'm neutral on Dinwiddie. Basically neutral on Bridges, a little bit heavy. Neutral on Cam Thomas. My two big stands are 4K shooting guard small forward Lonnie Walker, which I actually think is going to go down quite a bit now that we have Leaky Black, who's basically the same positionality and a similar price tag. So I think the Lonnie Walker interest for me will probably go down a hair. And then I have a very big stand on 5K, small forward, power forward, Cam Johnson.
Ooh, that's fascinating. So there's obviously no Ben Simmons. There hasn't been Dorian Finney-Smith for the last couple. So those are both useful to help out with like 4s. You could see extra minutes. Royce O'Neal, I do have a couple of shares of. You said you had 0, so I am there for Royce O'Neal. Dennis Smith Jr. 0. I'm glad we're on board, same page there. Nicholas Claxton, almost with the field, 26% is where he's at right now. I have 18, 20-ish. I if I could find that here, that'd be great. Yeah, there you go, 20%. Yeah. Cameron Thomas, again, he's just fine. He's gonna chuck, nonstop chucker, 31% usage, yay. But yeah, Lonnie Walker, I am playing a lot of. Cameron Johnson, I'm under the field quite a bit, 16%. But for me, without a doubt, the biggest headache, 50-ish% of Spencer Dinwiddie is just a problem for me today. And again, maybe I'm just doing something incorrect here, but we have him at 29.5 minutes. And there is no doubt that he has to shoot the ball better than he has been of late. If he shoots the ball at all, I'd be happy no matter what here. Going up against Golden State, no imposing backcourt defensively here. So yeah, Spencer Dinwiddie, go out and get me a double-double one time, please.
Anything else for Brooklyn?
There's a lot of guys you can play.
Yes, there are.
Pick your spots, and obviously positionality matters. That's why Lonnie Walker is such a good piece. 4K, massive minutes here. Jacques Vaughn, again, he'd been talking about Lonnie Walker and getting him more involved. It hadn't happened until it happened, and now you're seeing 40% ownership on a guy that everybody wanted to tell me on the day that I got second in the $44 single entry. What a terrible play. Oh, Eric, how could you do that? Well, because there was going to be upside there even at 3-4%. So I was happy to be right on it for the spot against Utah that mattered. It's carried over into the weekend. We'll see. Lonnie Walker, though, you put him at 25 minutes, he still looks excellent.
Folks, hit that like button. We're almost up to 500, but that means that there are still 2,000 of you watching this show that don't want to watch Live Before Lock. Hit the thumbs up. Unlock Live Before Lock. You don't want to miss out on any of our content. Toronto Raptors are 10.5-point dogs in New Orleans, 230 total. We got news earlier today. RJ Barrett is out for this one. That's fine. Also, no Jonte Porter. Also, no love to this team, really. 9% ownership to Emmanuel Quickley is the highest mark that we have. 11% optimal rate to Scotty Barnes is the highest mark that we have. I think getting to Trent, Quickley, Barnes in and around that 10% range is totally fine. And that's about all. They kind of remind me of the Clippers right now.
Yeah, they remind me of the Clippers, but the one nice thing they have is that there's Pelicans news on the other side. And as I was playing with salaries before the show, there are just so many ways that you have to have like two pieces from this game to really make the swaps you want. So one thing I am doing is going through and doing a little bit of an ROI boost to guys like Scotty Barnes, guys like Emmanuel Quickly, Jakob Poeltl, mainly because you kind of get in no man's land with the Pelicans on the other side that you'd really want to get to. Brandon Ingram, 7,700, CJ McCollum, 6,900. That's a little bit easier, obviously, with the Quickly piece to be able to just turn it directly into that if you get Zion ruled out. But Scotty Barnes, 8,800, obvious upside, obvious decent piece that you could be getting to. I think Jakob Poeltl is kind of a little bit underrated on this slate here as well. We saw him play 33 minutes yesterday, and that is useful. Going to be very, very useful if they have J Val out there for, 25-ish, 26-ish minutes as well. I'm a little bit surprised to see Quickly is, even playing today. Played 43 minutes, had been going off of injury. So maybe they're a little bit lighter on him, but I don't think that unlocks anything for me. If Bruce Brown starts, he's 5,900. Dennis Schroeder, 5,900. If he ends up starting, I'd maybe have a little bit of interest where maybe they just extend those minutes, but he played a gob of minutes yesterday too. The guy I have the most from this team right now is Gary Trent. So that is at 10%, and nothing else is really all that appealing, although I want it to be.
What about the Pelicans side? Because while we have big ownership coming into Larry Nance at around 25%, we're right around 10 to 15 on Zion and Brandon Ingram, just shy of 10 on CJ and Joval. Are you making any big stands here? What do you like from the Pelicans?
The word is not necessarily like. I could really, really, really like getting to Brandon Ingram. But Zion Williamson's the guy I have the most of right now. I had written up what do you do in these kind of scenarios? But Zion, 7,500, he's still questionable. So obviously you could find the 200, get up to Ingram in a forward spot or, utility. A lot of the pieces of this game are going to be further down your lineup on DraftKings. So shouldn't be that difficult to make it work. But if Zion plays, he's looked exponentially better here of late. Nice to see him get up to 36 minutes against San Antonio there. This is a team in New Orleans that under its current construction, he's going to still be the best fantasy point per minute producer. I would expect even more so than a J Val when they're sharing the floor. Although J Val's a little bit better here on the season when they're both on the floor. CJ McCollum, 6,900 would be awesome if you had Zion out, but the hell was that?
Ghosts.
Anyway, no idea what that was. Anyway, that's all I got for you right now. It could end up being a spot where you're getting a spot start from somebody else. I mean, Herb Jones is 4,300. If he's playing basketball, maybe you get to a little Herb Jones, but not a lot else to talk about here.
Yeah, Q tag on Zion, Q tag on Larry Nance, Q tag on Herb Jones. A lot up in the air for the New Orleans Pelicans. Live before lock might be able to help you out, but if not, make sure you're around to late swap if you need to, because that's a lot of Q tags for the 8 o'clock game. I wouldn't want to just leave that one hanging. That's going to do it, folks. NBA Live Before Lock is coming up next. Hit that like button if you want to see it. Thanks to Eric. Thanks to Jordan. Thanks to Vivid Picks. We'll talk to you later. Good luck.
Dude, that was...
What is happening, everybody? Welcome to another NBA Live Before Lock. And you guys aren't going to believe it. There's a bunch of players on the NBA injury report today for us to talk about. So we're going to be going through all of that. Andrew Wiggins was just ruled out officially. In addition to Andrew Wiggins being out, here's who we're currently looking at as being questionable on the injury report, Matt. We've got Anthony Davis questionable. We've got LeBron James questionable. Zion Williamson is questionable. Tobias Harris is questionable, which massive with Joel Embiid already being out. Jared Allen is questionable. Darius Garland is questionable. Herb Jones is questionable. Larry Nance Jr. is questionable. Everybody's questionable. It's a big slate for injury news. We're going to walk you guys through all of it. The only thing we ask of you is to like the video and to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And shout out to Vivid Picks, who is sponsoring our show today. And I know that this is an NBA show here, Matt, but there's a free square over at Vivid. And if you guys sign up using the link that we have below for Vivid Picks, you are going to get a deposit bonus of up to $300. And in addition to that, you are going to get access to a free square over under 0.5 receiving yards in the Super Bowl for Travis Kelce. Matt, I'm going to ask you to make one NFL projection on the entire show. Will Travis Kelce have one or more receiving yards in the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Is the impact of Taylor Swift factoring into your decision at all?
No. I mean, you're asking the wrong guy. I'm totally biased towards Kelce being a Cleveland guy, but I don't think it matters for this question. Like, yeah, free square.
All right. Matt, you heard it from Matt. He breaks up with Taylor Swift tomorrow. We're still going with over 0.5 receiving yards for Travis Kelce. If you guys want access to that, sign up using the link we have below for Vivid Picks, and you do get deposit bonus up to $300. The standard deposit match offer there is $100. We do get up to $300 when you sign up with our link. So go check that out, guys. And we've got all these players on the injury report here, Matt, as we got some people saying unders in the chat. Lots of people saying unders. I think they're a lot of people are biased against Travis Kelce, going with the under 0.5 receiving yards in the chat there, though. But which of these injuries for today are going to be most significant to your lineups?
So before I answer that, can we establish that the Lakers injury report is again fugazi? Like, once they play, I expect them to keep playing until they're out again. Do you agree with that?
I'm assuming they're playing. I'm not. So I'm going to kind of toe the line a little bit. I'm like 90% sure they're playing, right? I'm not taking it too seriously, but if they were to get ruled out, I'm not going to say like, right. Oh my God, I can't believe this has happened.
That's fair. I mean, because they did just both recently miss games. So that makes sense. Yeah, honestly, I think the New Orleans news is important. I would say the New Orleans news is probably the most important to me because I honestly don't know if Zion specifically is going to play. Also not really sure what to do with this Paul Reed news that like, is he, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start here based on what the report sounds that came out.
Yeah. So he is dealing with an illness. And then in addition to that, Tobias Harris is questionable. He is dealing with an illness. Other players who are already out for the 76ers, including Nick Batum, although that is a hamstring injury. And then, of course, the big one is Joel Embiid, and who the hell knows when he's going to return. They're bad enough at giving us updates on a game-to-game basis, so trying to figure out what they're going to do with Joel Embiid like 2 days out or even a week out, nearly impossible. Everything that they've given to Woj and Shams as far as report, it's been so vague that none of the reports they've put out mean anything. It's they hope he returns this year. It'll maybe be a 1 or 2 month injury. It's all nonsense what we've heard. But for our intents and purposes, we know he's not playing today. But yeah, I do think Paul Reed starts. I'm definitely concerned about his minutes upside now.
Yeah, same. And I'm definitely, if I could bet on this, that Embiid is out for the year. I think they're being vague on purpose. A lot of people I know have talked about that Embiid, how many years did he have left in him? You know, he's been perpetually hurt in the past. This is a big blow for him and the Sixers, obviously. Like, who knows when we're going to see him again? I mean, he's that type of guy where, like, he's pretty fragile because of his frame and size and everything.
And the fact, too, that he plays to his benefit and to his detriment as well. He plays like a maniac out on the court. Like, what other guys who are, I don't know, what does he weigh, like 300 pounds, and he's 7 feet tall? He's diving on the ground for balls. He's flopping every play. So this guy hits the ground constantly. I'm sure that's wear and tear on the body, the amount of times that he's hitting the hardwood. So, and I mean, as you mentioned, he's already had lots of injury history. I mean, he started his NBA career, missed his first 2 full seasons due to foot injuries. So I don't think this was a guy who any of us expected to have, you know, the longevity of a LeBron James or anything like that. But yeah, you have to be pretty concerned about how it's going to look going forward. Also, really quick, Jordan, of these super chats we have, which ones are from this show and which ones were answered during the last show, if any? Oh my God. Oh, everything else has been answered already. Look at that. All right. So let's start getting into the super chats. And if you guys have questions for us in Discord, hit us up. We'll start looking at some of those. If you guys want access to the Stochastic Discord, join any membership pack. It's Stochastic. Yeah. What's that, Jordan? Okay. So we don't have pinstripe. Okay. So they answered. Oh, so they only answer. So they went from answering everything to only two. Okay. So they hit both of all rats, and they did or didn't do pinstripe pimps question. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right. So I'll start with that. One thing that is really funny about trying to figure this out sometimes on the show is that it also requires me to read your guys' names out loud. So then it's like, hey, Jordan, do we make sure we got the pinstripe pimps question already? Because it's very important. And it is, of course, because we're trying to make sure we get all your guys' questions answered. And pinstripe pimp 517 did leave us a super chat. He wants to know who the 3 must-haves are for FanDuel tonight. So FanDuel, do you have lineups that you're looking at for FanDuel and DraftKings, Matt, or just for DraftKings? I've got FanDuel ones here as well, if you just want me to hit the FanDuel ones.
Just DraftKings, but low-key, that's one of my favorite parts of the show, when you have to read the screen names.
There's I'll have to send you the old if you ever seen the kicker of K Hunts. Are you aware of that?
No, but I can familiarize myself just with the name.
Yeah. So unfortunately, fortunately for me, he left us a super chat once, and Eric was reading the names out, and he read that one a little bit incorrectly. And it was a fantastic moment in this YouTube channel's history. But let's talk here. Pinstripe Pimp 517, 3 must-haves for FanDuel. Yes, the 3 players that I'm getting to the most on FanDuel as of now are Brandon Pajemski, Onyeka Okongwu, as well as, for now, Tobias Harris. I like having Tobias Harris into lineups now anyway. And then he's a really good piece to be able to either play or pivot off of later on in the night. So we've got this situation for the 76ers where we've already touched on it. Joel Embiid is out, which then you go, all right, well, all the usage goes to Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, Paul Reed moves into the starting lineup. But now Paul Reed is sick. They may be capping his minutes tonight. Tyrese Maxey, good to go. But Tobias Harris, questionable, dealing with an illness. If he doesn't play, this opens up all kinds of value in Philly, Matt. And so he's somebody right now, Tobias Harris. I like getting into lineups. He's a priority for me. And then it's also nice to have that spot reserved in case we need to, swap off. With that said, it's one of the first games of the slate. So that news is going to come out sometime over the next 45 minutes, and I'll be reacting to it and moving things around. But that's who I have for now as my 3 top must-haves on FanDuel. Next question here is from Corey Shea. Corey wants to know top GPP plays at each position. I know Corey is a DraftKings player, so we could answer this from a DK perspective. And for me on DraftKings, point guard, that is going to be Dennis Smith Jr. For me, Matt, who's your highest priority point guard option?
Maxey.
For me at shooting guard, it is going to be Lonnie Walker the 4th, in case anybody wants to play any of the other Lonnie Walkers.
I'll agree with you on Walker at one of the 2, small shooting guard or small forward for me.
Small forward for me, that is going to be Tobias Harris at the moment.
Yeah, same.
Power forward, I'm going with Onyeka Okongwu. Really hard to avoid Okongwu is my most rostered player overall on the slate. Super, super difficult to avoid him with Clint Capella out.
Easiest play on the slate. I mean, yeah, he's my power forward of choice also. Don't think it's crazy either to play him at center today.
Yeah. Center for me, I mean, I really could have, this is kind of
right,
interchangeable. So the reason I did him at power forward is because I wanted to be able to say Larry Nance Jr. at center. Another one right here in Larry Nance, who's also questionable. We've got so many guys who are questionable for the Pelicans. And one thing I want to make really clear is that we have Zion Williamson questionable. We have Herb Jones questionable. Larry Nance is questionable himself. If Zion is out, this doesn't really impact Larry Nance's playing time all that much because he remains in a center split minute with Larry Nance. So Jonas Valanciunas, Larry Nance, they're not going to be sharing the court together. But Why Larry Nance looks good on DraftKings is because he has inexplicably been priced all the way down to $3,200, which is an incredibly cheap price tag for Larry Nance. So I like him as a value piece at center.
Yeah, he's crazy, crazy cheap. I often land on Nance in like my final spot. So 3,200. Yeah, I'm all about it. No problems with it at all.
And the next question that we have here is from Anthony Maselli. Anthony wants to know we just did this one. We got the same question back to back. Anthony wants to know who our favorite plays at each position are on DK. All right. So we did that, but he's got another part of this. He wants to know who's our favorite low owned play on the slate. If we're going contrarian and 6 games, let's say, I don't know, sub 15% owned for a 16 game slate. Who's your favorite guy to get to sub 15% owned at any position?
I think this guy is really hard to get to just because of his position, just because of his positionality. But I wrote about him earlier. He's the highest graded leverage play in our tools. Bruno Fernando at the flat 3K. Like, he'll see minutes tonight with Capella out. How many is up in the air because they don't necessarily have to replace Okongwu with a true center. That said, they could also play Fernando with Okongwu together, which would boost Fernando's minutes. So I think there's a lot of unknown in his minutes. He's only 3K though. My biggest problem with getting to him is like, there's so many power forward centers I like. He eats up a spot. So that's how I see it. How about you?
He's in 26% of my lineups right now at 5% projected ownership. There's 2 reasons to like Bruno Fernando. One, Clint Capella's out. I do expect him to play the backup center minutes. Another thing too is as much as Okongwu is my most rostered player on the entire slate, it's not like I have 100% exposure to Onyeka Okongwu. He's in 2/3 of my lineups. Still, my most rostered player on the slate. I think Bruno Fernando is an excellent leverage play in lineups that don't have Onyeka Okongwu, because what happens if Okongwu gets into foul trouble? Well, if he gets into foul trouble, he's going to lose out on playing time. Bruno Fernando is going to likely pick up that playing time, and then you got yourself a really good leverage option at min price, kind of akin to, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the guy I've been calling him EV Boyman from the Grizzlies yesterday, who served as a leverage play off of the center. By the way, every single Grizzlies player last night, bullshit if anybody had heard of any of those guys more than a week before yesterday, other than like Luke Kennard. So there was it's kind of a similar scenario to that though, right? Where if Okongwu does get into foul trouble in the same sort of scenario we saw with the Grizzlies last night, Bruno Fernando could step into those minutes, and then you're getting really good leverage on the field as well. So playing a bunch of Onyeka Okongwu, but in lineups without him, I like going to Fernando.
I'd play them together. That's how much I like Okongwu. Like, I get your point about how like yesterday it is like that, but on the other hand, like all those, that's to your point, like no one knew any of those Grizzlies guys 2 weeks ago. So the fact that one of them, because he was starting, like was that much higher owned than the other guy was a little bit silly. Here, like we at least know what Okongwu is. Like he is productive when he gets minutes. That just for me means I'd play them both together, but I'm with you. Like if I were playing 150 or however many, I wouldn't have 100% Okongwu, and in the ones I didn't, I'd like Fernando more.
Yeah, and I also have lineups with them together. I'm not saying that like I'm not willing to play them together. Certainly I am, but I think in the scenario where Okongwu does not get there from a DFS perspective, it probably means that Bruno Fernando had himself a pretty solid game. Let's see who else. We've got Phil Senzig. Wants to know who the Velvet Rope play of the day is, Matt. Who's a high-owned player that maybe we don't like quite as much as the field does?
This is a good question.
By the way, we just got, let's see, what is this news? Herb Jones is in, Zion Williamson. Okay, so we got a whole bunch of pieces of news that came out all at the same time. LeBron in, AD in, Zion Williamson in, Herb Jones and Larry Nance in. So 5 players who were questionable all in. You had already said before you felt that the Lakers injury report a little bit fugazi, and you win. You were correct on that. But most importantly, Nance is going to be in and play today. But sorry, also wanted to give you a couple seconds to think about your Velvet Rope play there, Matt.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I am going to go with, this is always tough because the higher on the player, like the better the play is on the slate more oftentimes than not. That said, the Velvet Rope play of the day for me today is going to be Cam Thomas. At that ownership, he's coming in as the 4th highest owned guy on the slate. There's just other guys in his price range. He'll have a ton of usage. He'll have the ball in his hands a lot, but if he's not making shots, it's a big problem for him. So we've seen it before. Like we've read this book before with him many times this season. very reminiscent and similar to Jordan Clarkson, just thinking about it off the top of my head. So on any given night, he has monster upside, but also has a low floor because of, his needness to make shots. So Cam Thomas, I'm kicking out of the club tonight. Don't feel great about it, but the higher owned, like the better the Velvet Rope play is in my mind, at least.
We've got Leaky Black projected to be in like a third of the field's lineups tonight. And I get it. He's cheap. It's a Charlotte team that is missing a handful of guys, but I mean, this is Leaky Black projected to be massive chalk today. No, thank you. I have him, and also not like I have 0% of him, but I have about half of the field. I currently have him in 16% of my lineup. So that is somebody who I like getting underweight to the field.
That did go down. His ownership went down a little bit to like 16%.
Oh, did it go down? Let's see. Projected ownership now. Let's see, what's the latest run? So the latest run, we now have Leaky Black at 17%. So I'll be a little bit underweight to him. Maybe I should find a different one. The other ownership I thought was crazy high on Leaky Black because the one we had before, he was in about 30% of the field's lineups. So let's see if I could find a different guy to be underweight to, because I felt pretty good about giving Leaky Black as my answer. Screw it. I'm still going to stick with Leaky Black here. Leaky Black. That's going to be my Velvet Row play of the night. Leaky Black. Next question, RADM says, can I get a prop question? How do you feel about Okongwu over 8.5 rebounds for tonight with Capella and Zubats at all? All right, so Zubats to me is not somebody who's going to make any kind of real significant difference in what we could expect out of Okongwu's rebound rate. I know that people are looking at Zubats being on the other side, but also, this is not information that the sports books don't know. It's not like they're like, oh my God, Ivica Zubats is out. That's something that they haven't taken into account for. And same with Capella being out. Okongwu this year has made 3 starts. In those starts, 34 minutes per game, 8.7 rebounds. Off the bench, he averages 6.7 rebounds per game. Can you pull up Odd Shopper, Jordan? Let's look at what Odd Shopper is showing us for Onyeka Okongwu, because at first glance, the 8.5 line looks pretty fair to me. Seems pretty fair to be 8.5. But maybe Odd Shopper's projecting it much differently. If you guys want to sign up for Odd Shopper, by the way, also there's a link below for that. And you could use the promo code Greg to get yourself 20% off. That is GREG. Only 4 letters, all capitals, to get yourself that 20% off. But let's check Odd Shopper and see what it's telling us about Okongwu. All right, Okongwu looks like a little bit of value on the under. Not enough to where it's like crazy value or anything, but if I had to play one side of it, I would say the under here for Okongwu. We have and it's mostly because it's plus money, right? The best available line is Bet365, under 8.5, plus 115. By the way, Bet365 also is a pretty good deal right now, especially if you guys live in Arizona or Indiana. If you live in Arizona or Indiana, that's those are the states that Bet365 has most recently been added to. They got a deal there. You sign up at Bet365, you bet $5 to give you $150 in bonus bets. But I know this question was more about Okongwu, but it kind of struck my eye that the best available line on Okongwu is at Bet365. I wouldn't play him at any of these other books, but plus 115 at Bet365 when you see that it's plus 102 on FanDuel. What is it on DraftKings there, Jordan? Or do they not have a rebound line post? Oh, there they do. It's all the way to the right. What is the number? Minus 115. So yeah, think about it this way. It's minus 115 on DraftKings. It's plus 115 on Bet365. So just by line shopping, I do think there's value on that number. I wouldn't bet it anywhere else. But if you wanted to play the Okongwu over 8.5, wouldn't do it. I would consider the under 8.5 over at Bet365. Ace of Spade wants to know our favorite options for DK tiers. So yeah, I'll pull up my DK tiers lineups over here that I build for Ace of Spade every night. And here we go. All right, so starting with tier 1, Matt, we have Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Domantas Sabonis. That is going to be Anthony Davis for me. In tier 2, I'm going with Donovan Mitchell. But I will say there's a little bit of caveats to this because there's 2 guys I'm considering in this tier. Donovan Mitchell and Tyrese Maxey. Both of these guys have players who are on the injury report. Most notably with Tyrese Maxey, we've got the Tobias Harris situation. Harris still questionable. But then for the Cavs, we've got Garland questionable as well as Allen questionable. If everybody's in for both these teams, I'm going to go with Donovan Mitchell. But if Tobias Harris is out, I lean towards Tyrese Maxey. If Garland and Harris are both out, then I go Mitchell over Maxey. But some different things to consider there at the injury report. Tier 3, that is Kawhi Leonard for me. Tier 4, Miles Bridges. Tier 5, Tobias Harris. If Tobias Harris is out, then I'm going to go with Mikal Bridges. Tier 6, Nick Claxton. So those are my favorite options there for each tier. Thank you for the super chat, Ace of Spade. And then got a couple of guys in here, Chris Williams, as well as Malukar, gifted out 5 YouTube memberships. So guys, thank you very much for the support. We always appreciate it. And thank you for gifting the YouTube memberships. If anybody else wants to support the channel, the easiest way to do it is just like the video and subscribe. Next question here. Matus Drozd. I didn't pronounce that right. I feel like I've gotten his name correct before, and I just didn't this time. But Matush wants to know best play 4,100 or under. And I think this is a DraftKings question. 4,100 or under on DK, any position, Matt. Which way are you going?
Lonnie Walker.
Yeah, let's see. Off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure that that's correct, but I don't always remember every player's price off the top of my head. Yes, it is Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker. That is your answer there. True Rages says, hey guys, who are your DK cash locks? And do we like Maxey in cash? What Nets players are you most confident in? And do you guys like Kawhi? All right, so different things to break down here from True Rages. First, DK cash game locks. So the players I think you absolutely need to play in cash games tonight are Onyeka Okongwu, Lonnie Walker. I know you don't like Cam Thomas in GPPs as much as the field does, but I do think you guys should play him in cash games just because of what the ownership is. And Cameron Johnson as well. I'm going to give those 4 as the cash game guys to build your lines around. Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Lonnie Walker, and Onyeka Okongwu. It's hard to get away from the Nets tonight, particularly in a cash game setting. Is there anybody else you would add to that as a player you think people should absolutely be rostering in cash?
I think that the only guy that's like you absolutely have to have is Okongwu. And then there's a group of like 3 or 4 guys where you should probably have all of them. And then a group of like 10 guys you can choose from for the rest. So I'm with you.
And let's see what we have next. My filler arc is asking, there we go. We're getting the Cavs news that's coming in right now. So we got Darius Garland listed available to play. We've got Jared Allen listed available to play. So this is good or bad news for a guy who I had tweeted about a little bit before the show, because he had said that the reason that Darius Garland popped up on the injury report was because Vegas had demanded that Darius Garland not play because too many people bet the over on his assist prop. I don't know what this guy's going to do now that Darius Garland is in, but
that was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen when I read that. Like, that was just, I couldn't believe it.
It's pretty dumb, but there's a lot of dumb shit that I see on Twitter all the time. I want to get back into a rhythm of highlighting the dumb things I see people tweet about sports betting. Most notably, though, I'm really confused by the people who are positive that sports betting is rigged and that it's preventing them from ever winning, but yet they bet every night. I don't understand the logic there. So it's to me, if you think that sports betting is rigged, I disagree with you, right? Very strongly disagree with you. I don't think that is a realistic position to take. But if you believe it's rigged and you are still betting every day, you're an insane person that I can't relate to. Anyway, for the Cavs, we got Jared Allen and Darius Garland in. My filler arc left us a super chat. He wants to know Mo Bamba hype tonight. Would he play in a blowout? Yes, I do assume he would play in a blowout. Is he somebody you would consider for a large field GPP as a contrarian option, Matt?
Yeah, I like Bamba, the idea of Bamba. The problem is there was a blowout last game and Paul Reed was sick and he only played 19 minutes. So I don't know. Like, I wish he were cheaper and he takes up a center position. So if you ask me which one of Bamba and Larry Nance, obviously Nance is a lot cheaper, got 18 fantasy points, I think Nance is a lot likelier. If you ask me which one got 30 plus, it's Bamba, but a lot of things have to go right for that to happen. Well, not a lot of things. He just needs to play.
We just got some more news that came in and things are going our way. We're not going to have to update very many lineups for this news that come in. Tobias Harris in, Paul Reed in, Paul Reed also starting. So there we go. We don't have to worry about Paul Reed coming off the bench. And this is also very relevant to the super chat we just got about Mo Bamba, because I was going to say that if the illness for Paul Reed is going to prevent him from starting, that would lend me to potentially get to Mo Bamba. But at $4,500 for Mo Bamba coming off the bench, I don't have him in any of my lineups right now. I'm not going to say it's impossible for Paul Reed to get into foul trouble or for Paul Reed to not feel well and for Bamba to end up picking up some slack there. But there's a pretty good amount of value plays that like, particularly at the center position. I'm not getting to Mo Bamba.
Yeah, same.
Let's see. What do we have next? Gray says, in order of preference. Oh my God. This is where we're at in the NBA season. Order of preference. And this is, by the way, it's a very good question. It's just funny when you see the names that come up once you're at this part of the season. We're approaching the All-Star break. Order of preference: Nick Smith, Ish Smith, and Leaky Black.
Probably my dog hates those choices, clearly. Probably Leaky Black just because of the positionality, but it's close with him and Ish Smith.
I guess I'll go. Jeez. I'm going to go Leaky Black 1, Ish Smith 2, Nick Smith 3. That's my order of priority right there. Order priority for you, Gray. Over at 14 wants to know minutes on Dennis Smith Jr., Nance, and Black, and then also who's better on DK. So between Dennis Smith Jr., Larry Nance Jr., and Leaky Black, if this is just a utility spot for who to play, I'm going to go with, of those three, Larry Nance.
Yeah, I'm with that.
And then as far as the minutes, would you mind throwing the projections up on screen, Jordan? We could show what we have projected here for Dennis Smith Jr., Larry Nance, and Leaky Black. And I'll also walk through it over here by pulling it up. All right, so we have Leaky Black projected for 23 minutes. Also, who's naming their kid Leaky Black? What are we doing here?
Not his real name.
What are we doing here? Who is even coming up with this nickname? This is horrendous. It's horrendous. I feel like I'm going to get canceled for saying his name during a show. There's nothing I can do. It's what the fella's name is.
That's good.
All right. So we've got Leaky projected for 23 minutes, Ish Smith at 25 minutes, and then we've got Nick Smith at 21 minutes. So all kind of in the ballpark of playing. He asked Dennis Smith Jr. I'm kind of getting questions confused here. So I was looking at the question from Gray before. The question Olrad asked was Dennis Smith Jr., Nance, and Black. So Dennis Smith Jr.'s minutes are projected for 19.5. So 19.5 for Dennis Smith Jr. But Larry Nance is my answer, and you were on the same page, right, Matt?
I was. I will say this about DSJ compared to the Charlotte guys. Like, DSJ is a much better fantasy producer than those guys, so won't play as much probably, but certainly not the worst pivot at a really cheap price point for him. You mentioned Dennis Smith Jr. earlier as your favorite point guard.
Yeah, but the difference is the positionality.
No, right. I'm just saying that I'm just saying that like he's in play. I wasn't like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Dennis Smith Jr. quite a bit, considering what his upside is. And also, you never know what the Nets minutes are going to be, right? They're all over the place. There's no consistency to their rotation. Like right now, they're really reliant on Cam Thomas. It's not all that long ago. Cam Thomas was coming off the bench playing limited minutes for them. I'm not saying that's going to happen today. I'm just saying there's a lot of range of outcomes with the Nets minutes. And just because Dennis Smith Jr. is projected for 19.5, and I'm getting to him when we have him projected for 19.5, there's an upside for him to play 25, 26 minutes, and then he could blow the doors off his projection. So yeah, Dennis Smith Jr., somebody who I like for cheap. Larry Nance, another guy who I like for cheap. But Larry Nance, the most of those guys. SVT Mike is asking us, how long until after the news is it safe to use the lineup generator? Yeah, so as soon as our projections update, which is usually, it depends how massive the news is, right? If there's a bunch of players that get ruled out from one team and also Luka Doncic in and starting tonight for the Dallas Mavericks, is when players get ruled out, it's typically like 2 to 3 minutes before our projections update, and then that reflects in the lineup generator like a minute or so later. So there's not a one-size-fits-all answer, but generally if you give it like 4 minutes after news comes out, you've got updated lineups in the lineup generator. Bryce McGowan's projection. That is a Ryan Burt wants to know what we are doing with Bryce McGowan's today. We have him projected for 10 fantasy points, and he is not in any of my lineups.
Yeah, definitely not playing McGowan's.
Deuce Trey is his favorite center and point guards for FanDuel. Yeah, pull my FanDuel lineups back up here. So point guards to consider on FanDuel. I think this is a pretty good bounce back spot to roster Ish Smith over on FanDuel. I'm sure that's going to give some people indigestion, but he remains only $3,900 on FanDuel. He's likely going to be starting at point guard and play the bulk of the minutes. Hopefully he doesn't suck again today. But Ish Smith is definitely somebody for tournaments that I think you should be considering at the point guard spot. And then I like Tyrese Maxey quite a bit as well. As far as centers go, Onyeka Okongwu is center eligibility, and Mason Plumlee has a reasonable price tag, $4,700 on FanDuel, slotting back into the starting lineup with Zubats being out. So Okongwu and Plumlee there for me. Thanks for the super chat, Deuce Trey. And then we've got one here from Donnie Boone. Donnie Boone says, any love for Donovan Mitchell as a spend up today? You know, I was going to like Donovan Mitchell quite a bit if the injury news broke his way, but considering that Darius Garland's in and that Jared Allen's in, he's like a last man in sort of guy for me. I've got 10% of Donovan Mitchell right now, and that's right almost exactly what his projected ownership is. We have Mitchell projected for just over 10% ownership. So I'm about even with the field. I wouldn't prioritize him. If you're playing one lineup, Donovan Mitchell shouldn't be in it.
No, but he's always a guy like high upside. So if he's your guy tonight and you're playing chalk everywhere else, go for it. But in a vacuum, I'm with you. Like, he's not my guy in one lineup.
Next question here, and then we'll start looking at some of the Discord questions as well. Coming to us from Jacob Dunn. Jacob wants no better play tonight. Oh boy, he's looking for some value because he's considering betting either the Hornets money line at plus 625 or the Houston Rockets at plus 240. So we've got Houston, Houston doesn't play tonight. I'm confused now. He said Houston in here, doesn't he? Let me reread this. Yeah, he said the Rockets plus 240. I don't even know who the Rockets are. I don't even know who the Rockets are playing tomorrow, so I have to look. Considering that the Rockets aren't playing today, I'm going to default to the Hornets, but dear God, man, who wants to bet the Hornets money line these days? The Rockets. Let me look. I don't know.
I still like the Hornets. This is such a bad spot for the Lakers. Such a letdown spot for them. Charlotte sucks, but the Lakers aren't good either. On the road, like, I think Charlotte keeps this game competitive. I'll say that. So give me Charlotte.
Halliburton is listed as questionable on the injury report again for tomorrow. I know they've been playing him, but limited minutes. I'll go with the Houston Rockets because it's a pretty wide line for a matchup against the Pacers if Halliburton might not play. But if you're looking for a bet for tonight and you thought the Rockets were playing today, they're playing tomorrow. I'm going with the Rockets plus 240 though. Chris Williams, great show like always, guys. You know the question is coming. Favorite captains for a DK showdown? And also, am I getting to a lot of the 4-2 Pelicans? So I'm going to have to run lineups here for that, and then I will get back to your question there, Chris. So I'll circle back to it in like two questions. First, Clintonwood 83 is Ish Smith a single entry play? After last night, I'm hesitant. Thanks. I unfortunately like Ish Smith for tournaments. If you liked him last night, there's reasons to like him tonight as well. The Hornets are shorthanded. He's going to be playing point guard minutes. I can't tell you it's going to go well guaranteed because we just saw him shit the bed as a chalk play yesterday. Not the first time that he shit the bed as a decent looking cheap option in a good spot. But I do think his ownership could end up going lower owned than what it's currently projected as because of people looking to jump ship on Ish Smith. But yeah, I do like him as a tournament play.
I didn't play last night. Was he like really popular?
Very, very popular. And he was
really
very, very.
I never like him when he's popular like that. But at 3,600, I just said how I like the Hornets to keep this game competitive here. And I like their whole starting lineup.
They're so cheap. You know, how often are you going to? Here's another thing too. If Ish Smith was decent last night at the exact same nothing changed today from yesterday other than he just scores like 15 more fantasy points. Like he walks himself into a couple of defensive stats. He hits a higher percentage of his shots, doesn't turn the ball over as much. He ends up being massive chalk again today. The only reason he isn't is because he played poorly in his minutes. He got the minutes yesterday. No, he didn't play 40 minutes, but it was 26 minutes. And still in those minutes at a cheap price point for a point guard, they're going to have decent games fairly frequently. So I think he's a tournament option to be overweight to the field too.
Yeah, I'm playing minimal lineups and I'm playing him. So wish me luck.
Back to Chris Williams's question. Chris is asking my most frequently rostered build for Showdown, and actually did end up being 4-2 Pelicans, Chris. The reason for that is because there is a lot of value on the Pelicans side of the game, whereas some of the Raptors players are a little bit more priced up. Captains I got the most of in this order: Scotty Barnes 1, Brandon Ingram 2, Zion Williamson 3. As far as the flex plays I got the most of, I'm getting to a good amount of Jonas Valanciunas and getting to a ton of Larry Nance as a cheap option, which makes sense. If I'm playing Larry Nance for cheap in large field tournaments, makes sense. I would like him for Showdown on a single game slate as well. So Larry Nance Jr. as a cheap option I like quite a bit there. Sean wants to know any love for Anthony Davis or De'Aaron Fox. Who do you prefer between AD or Fox?
AD easily, but they're not similarly priced at all.
AD is my go-to spend up option on the slate.
Yeah, insert big against Charlotte here. So, yeah, Anthony Davis looks elite.
If we're considering every player above 9K, if Tobias Harris isn't considered a spend up option and we're just going 9K and above, the player I have the most of in that range is Anthony Davis in 37% of my lineups right now. I really do like Anthony Davis. And we talked about it earlier. I'm not too concerned the fact that he was questionable. He's been listed as questionable for a while now, and he played last game as well. Anthony Davis. Steven Sleeper, best play at each position on DK, but we cannot include Onyeka Okongwu. Okay. So Dennis Smith Jr. So a lot of these, it's going to be the same as before because all these players got ruled in. Nothing really changed. We didn't get any crazy news that made me have to rerun lineups through the contest generator and the Sims at Stochastic. So, by the way, has anything changed for you from earlier, Matt? If not, I'll just go through it myself.
I guess I like Maxey slightly less because Harris is in, but I expected Harris to be in.
Dennis Smith Jr., Lonnie Walker, Tobias Harris. Oh, but I'm not allowed to say Okongwu, so I'll go Anthony Davis and then Larry Nance Jr. So there you have it for top plays, not including Onyeka Okongwu, Steven Sleeper. Then the Dude's Shop 88 wants to know Tobias Harris or the Brooklyn Bridge. So I assume by the Brooklyn Bridge, he means Mikal Bridges. And
like
by the way, two guys, I like both of them today, but Tobias Harris is my preferred option.
I like that nickname.
I do too. And also, it's a good way to differentiate them because I see this all the time.
And
people
Bridges.
People will say, who do you like better, Bridges or Bridges? They'll say, do you like Bridges?
Right.
They won't say, do you like better Bridges or Bridges? They'll say, which Bridge? They'll say, do you like Bridges tonight? I'll be, well, which? There's multiple of them. They'll say M Bridges. Like, well, that doesn't help either. And oftentimes we end up having to guess. I like this. I think we should go with the Brooklyn Bridge going forward. Is that somebody else's nickname, or is that patented by you, Dude Shop? Because that's a good one. I like that quite a bit. Let's see what we have here now in Discord. So we'll get to your guys' Discord questions. And like I said before, don't forget, if you guys want to sign up for a Discord package, all you have to do to get access to our Discord, sign up for any Stochastic package. It's going to come with access to our Discord. Really quick, though, Courtney Lamar left us a super chat. Any love for James Harden today? Harden... I like Harden a lot on FanDuel, but I don't get to him much on DraftKings. So it depends which site you're asking for. Depends which site. I much prefer, so James Harden is priced at $8,700. If you have a little bit, actually who I'd rather play at that price range is actually Miles Bridges, right? Or if you want to go cheaper, Tobias Harris, or spend up for Anthony Davis. I don't really play. I prefer Kyrie Irving as well to James Harden if you're looking in a similar price range. But James Harden, not somebody I'm really on very much today. Oh boy, tons of questions coming. This is maybe the most Discord questions I've ever seen us have over the course of the show, Matt. We're getting bombarded with the questions today. I appreciate all the support and all the engagements, guys. First, let's answer this question from Father of Three. He wants to know, how chalky do I have to be at the lineup generator? You don't have to be chalky. You don't have to be contrarian either. My preferred build in the lineup generator is the balance build. Capanakella wants to know, who's the one guy that we like the most in single entry tonight, Matt? Favorite single entry option from us?
I'm going to go to a guy we just talked about and you just said, Miles Bridges. Our tools love him here. Third overall third overall in our boom bust tool, coming in under 20% owned. Power forward / center, power forward center is a premium position tonight. There are a ton of good power forwards. It's hard to get to Bridges with Anthony Davis, Okongwu, Plumlee, et cetera, but he's a priority for me. I really like Bridges. I like this entire game.
I'm going to go with Larry Nance Jr. in single entry. I like Larry Nance. I like Larry Nance Jr. for large field. I like him for single entry, but Larry Nance Jr., that's a guy for me. The Black Mamba 8724 wants to know, who do we prefer, Leaky Black or Larry Nance? Give me Larry Nance. Stop making me say the guy's name. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more torn on that than you just because of the positionality on Leaky Black. Like, so give me Nance probably, but I'm not as confident as you are.
We've got IC50, who you get some of these questions and you never know if we're being trolled or not. But yeah, don't play Grady Dick tonight. I'm not going to read out the full question because he's trying to get me here with the way that he's phrasing the names in here. But yeah, it's not a Dick night for me. IC50, no Dick for me. We've got a super chat from Thomas Ryan. Thomas Ryan says, utility for DK under 7,700. Tobias Harris. If you already have Tobias Harris in your lineup, because there's a pretty good chance of that, then I'm going to say Brandon Ingram. But Tobias Harris.
Guy we didn't talk about that I like a lot. He wouldn't be my answer to that question, but he's close, is Brandon Miller.
Brandon Miller. So we're seeing a handful of rookies starting to break out. So the problem with Brandon Miller is you're leaving $900 in salary.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't answer him there. Yeah. I just wanted to bring him up.
Yeah, I've got exposure in the teens to Brandon Miller, and if you look at what he's been doing recently, the usage is crazy high in the absence of LaMelo. So it's not even, you look at the numbers for Brandon Miller and think like, oh, this is unsustainable. He shot 10 of 25 from the field last game to get to 52 fantasy points. It's just a ton of usage there. He's playing a bunch of minutes. He's taking a bunch of shots. That's all sustainable. It's not like he's shooting 70% from the field every game. He's just taking a ton of shots.
It's funny. I remember when the draft happened, and I was always a big Scoot guy. And I know you were, I remember you being like the Hornets I don't remember exactly what it was.
So I know what you're getting at so actually what was funny to me was the logic behind the pick was Michael Jordan sold the team and was leaving, but they let him pick the draft pick on the way out, which seems like terrible process for me. And then the report was that they were leaning towards Scoot Henderson, but then Michael Jordan really liked a one-on-one workout he did with Brandon Miller. So I was making fun. I was like, it just seemed like the worst logic ever for picking a player, but whatever. He appears to be a very, very good prospect.
Yeah, he looks more pro ready than Scoot right now. And he's also really young. So yeah, I mean, not that means anything, but again, I like this game. Charlotte has two guys now, two main guys, Miller and Bridges. Hayward's out, Ball's out. They no longer have Rozier. Like, this team is decimated from what it was a couple months ago. So I think his upside's real here. I also think his floor is pretty low too.
Then we've got Eckhard40 who wants to know, okay, so we've got a 2v2v2 here. So we have to pick one of these combinations for him to play. Anthony Davis and Norman Powell, Kawhi Leonard or the corpse of Klay Thompson, or Tobias Harris and Zion Williamson. That's going to be Tobias Harris and Zion Williamson for me.
Same, but I also think Davis, and instead of Powell, Spencer Dinwiddie, who's the exact same price on DraftKings, would be close to Harris and Zion, but not quite. So Harris and Zion for me also.
Yeah, Harris and Zion. That's the way that I'm going, particularly because of Tobias Harris. That's the way that Tobias Harris, very important. I hope he's not too sick, but he's in the spot to pick up a tremendous amount of usage with Joel Embiid out for an extended period of time. Tobias Harris is going to be more expensive going forward. This is probably the cheapest we're going to be able to play him until Embiid gets back. Corey Bomber wants to know AD and Nance or Tobias Harris and Brandon Pajemski for DraftKings. I'm going to go with Tobias Harris and Pajemski.
Damn it, I know you love Nance too, so that says all you need to know. Yeah, your pecking order today, I can tell, is Tobias Harris, Larry Nance, and everyone else.
Ryan Schindler, is 5 nets in a cash game too many? For a tournament, I'd say 5 is too many. For cash games, no, that's totally fine.
Agreed.
Ma Dub T says he's getting to a lot of PJ Washington on FanDuel. Is that okay? Or do you have somebody other than Onyeka that's better? Let me go back to my FanDuel lineups. And no, I'm getting to my FanDuel lineups that I built also had a shit ton of PJ Washington. I have no issue with that at all. Play yourself some PJ Washington tonight and enjoy the profits, hopefully, if he has a big game. Hey, Stable says, who is our favorite exotic play of the day, but it can't be Pajemski or Plumlee? All right, so I know that Eric isn't here, but because I'm trying to get the Kindle lit to get this fire going of the exotic play of the night back going, guys, don't forget when Eric's here tomorrow, because I haven't looked at the schedule. Well, I made the schedule. I just don't remember what it is for tomorrow. I'm fairly sure Eric is on Live for Lock. Make sure to ask him for the exotic play of the night. We have to start trolling with that again. As for today, let's see. Who's the white fella making himself into the... Oh, Larry Nance. Oh, no, Larry is Larry Nance... Is Larry Nance white?
No.
Oh, he's not?
Mm-mm. His dad was like...
Oh, that's
yeah,
true.
his dad was a Cleveland legend, slam dunk champ.
Yeah, fair. You know what trips me up, though, is that he's got... I know that he has some of the same digestive diseases that I have, which is very much a white thing.
Yeah, he also is very light pigmented, so it wouldn't, he's not like dark skinned.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, it's primarily the stomach issues.
Fair.
That's white people stuff. Let's see though. All right, so it can't be. I feel like we've ruled out too many guys. It can't be Pajemski, or I guess by default, then I just go to Luka. I go to Luka. All right. Next, we've got JEW must plays for a DK single entry. Yeah, I'm going to say Okongwu, Tobias Harris. Yeah, those are the only 2 guys I'd say like you absolutely should play in a single entry contest.
Okongwu and Harris?
Yeah. Anybody else
Yeah,
you
I'm
say
with
like a
that.
must play?
No. Even Harris, like, I don't think Okongwu is the only like must play in everything for me.
And let's see, what do we have here? Champino 26 says the top 2 most exposed DK at each position, but they can't be Nets or Okongwu. Okay, so no Nets or Okongwu. So then at point guard for me, so keep in mind here, we cannot answer, Matt, Nets, or actually, I think this is a pretty good exercise.
I love this.
We can't pick any Nets players, and we can't pick any of the Okongwu. So no Nets and no Okongwu. So at point guard, I'm going to go Pajemski and Luka.
Hey, for me, I'm going to go Ish Smith and Maxey with Dinwiddie a third.
Pajemski also for me at shooting guard with Kyrie Irving. I think Kyrie Irving is a guy with a little bit of upside here that the field is overlooking. Super low projected ownership on Kyrie Irving.
Super low. I like that call. I wrote him up today. I'm going to go with Pajemski and Donovan Mitchell.
Okay. And then we've got here at small forward, Tobias Harris and Brandon Miller for me.
Same.
Power forward, Tobias Harris and Anthony Davis.
I'm going to go, since I just said Harris, Bridges and Davis.
And then it's center, Larry Nance and Miles Bridges. It would be AD, but I already answered him, so I'll just conclude.
Yeah, it's a combination of those 2 guys that you just said.
All right, and then we've got, let me find the next question. Rico Rod wants to know my favorite center over on FanDuel, Onyeka Okongwu. Next question is from Tim Lee. Wants to know, why are the Nets cash game playable? Primarily because of what their price is and the fact that the team is shorthanded. So the Nets are missing Ben Simmons. The Nets are also missing Dorian Finney-Smith, and the entire team is extremely cheap. Next question is from Iron Maiden 2. Thoughts on Kuminga as a single entry pivot? I mean, I'm high on Kuminga, and apologies, Matt. I'm just going to answer a bunch of these as quickly as possible, and I'm going to limit the analysis. I want to make sure I get to all your guys' questions. So many of them came in. Thoughts on Kuminga as a single entry pivot? I don't really like him for single entry. Einsteinium, Harden, or Kyrie. I prefer Kyrie tonight. Melissa H, am I boosting anybody in the Sims? No, because we got the injury news that we were looking for. It'd be different if a bunch of guys were still questionable, but not what ended up happening. Tim Lee, pay-ups for cash games. Anthony Davis is my highest priority pay-up for cash, as well as Tobias Harris. Four-prong Digger wants to know who is the guy that I like in single entry to get different. I think that's a pretty good spot to roster Bruno Fernando. M. Bach, 005, Curry or Maxey. I actually do prefer Maxey to, let me double check that. Yeah, Maxey over Steph Curry for me today. Master PJ, when using the Sims, are all 5K generated lineups optimized for positionality and late swapping? Yes. It's going to give you the latest locking players in the utility guard and forward spots. Father of three, is Brandon Ingram a good tournament play? Yes. Yes, he is tonight. I like Brandon Ingram in tournaments. Hef Love says that Maxey isn't listed in the ownership list. It's not listed in the ownership list. What do you mean here?
He is. He's projected for 13.5% ownership.
Yeah, he's there. 13.5%, like Matt said. I just refreshed the page and checked it out. Sniff said, how do I feel about Mo Bamba with Reed sick? He's kind of priced up for the Sixers to be shorthanded. If Bamba was still like min price, I'd say go for it. I don't like him at 4,500 though. Stan 0302, Jalen Johnson and Tobias Harris, or Luka Doncic and Bruno Fernando, Jalen Johnson and Tobias Harris. SJBS wants to know, is Maxey and Tobias okay in the same lineup? Yes, I don't have an issue with that. Joel Embiid's out. There's so much usage to go around there. The Black Mamba wants to know, am I playing KJ Martin tonight? I'm fairly sure that's a no. Yeah, not playing KJ Martin tonight. We haven't projected for less than 10 fantasy points. And then one final question, and then we're done. I'm finding a good way to pace out some of these questions, make sure we get to all of them. Pajemski, Plumlee, and Kleba, or Fox, Nance, and Bruno Fernando for a DK tournament. Give me a Fox, Nance, and Bruno Fernando. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you've not done it yet, do us a favor. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel for the next hour and a half, or let's see, when's the... only 1 hour until the final game on the slate locks. 1 hour, Toronto, New Orleans locks. I'm going to be hanging out in Discord, answering any additional questions you guys have. And don't forget, if you guys want access to our Discord channel, sign up for a Stochastic package. You could get the lineup generator package for less than $15. In the lineup generator package, our projections are there. Our player ownerships are in there. It's going to build lineups for you. You could customize those lineups. You could take players out that you like, put other players in, things along those lines. You could edit the lineups as you see fit, but also get access to our Discord channel. So if you want to sign up and get access to the Discord channel, most cost-effective package we have is that lineup generator deal. So sign up using one of the links we have below, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good night. See you back here tomorrow. Peace out. Apologies to Self213 who left us a super chat right at the end. He wants to know, do I think Draymond Green will make 1 3-pointer today? I'm going to go with no. Okay, that's it. We can end again, Jordan.